Whether you've been thinking about joining a marketing cooperative or starting one of your own, a marketing cooperative or some kind of association of regional farms is an excellent way to provide food and security to your community. It's a great way for farmers to pool assets or resources so that you can get into farming faster. In this podcast episode, I'm going to share a little bit about my experiences with cooperative farming and also some things that you need to be aware of. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. So first off, there are certain management areas that you want to be aware of for every cooperative farm. So whether you join a cooperative like Southern States Cooperative to get discounts on equipment and better access to feed, or you're joining a cooperative as a buyer's market. So several of your farms work together and go out and pick up feed together so you can buy at different bulk volume levels. Doesn't matter. These elements of services will be in place, and they can be informal or they can be formal. Number one is going to be membership management. I was a part of an organization called Field of Friends here in the region, and it was farm producers and individuals who are interested in regenerative agriculture and basically getting food from the farm to the table. And they set up a regular meeting. They had schedules of events. They had information sessions. But a big thing is to make sure that we are bringing on members and that the members are getting benefits. Because if you have members in a cooperative and they don't feel like they're all getting an equal share, the cooperative will dissolve. Also, the cooperative has to gain certain value to the members or it will dissolve. Now, cooperatives dissolve. Things happen, but you're going to make a lot of good friendships. You're going to have a lot of good connections, but the cooperative, once it's served its purpose, can go away. So, but that has to be something common among members. Members have to agree upon that. So, for example, you might form a cooperative that hires labor that goes around farms only at the end of season in order to bring in harvests. That cooperative could, for example, come together informally to have tractors that go around different farms to cut hay. And it only exists during the cutting season. It only exists during the growing season. It only exists during the birthing season. But again, it is an organized thing that has some kind of membership benefit criteria, membership dues, for example, rules and guidelines about how funds will be handled. Next is risk management. So let's say you've got a farmers cooperative that includes multiple pieces of land, and it's going to have workers moving between the land, such as the nomadic caretaker that we're talking about. The risk management side is, do we have insurance so that when some outsider is on our land using equipment, taking care of animals, maintaining the farm, would we have insurance coverage for them? Another aspect of risk management is biosecurity compliance. Now, I know a lot of you guys are homesteading and you're not thinking about these things, but if someone wanted to stop you from homesteading, they could simply come in and say, oh, well, I noticed that you left one farm and went to another without cleaning the cuffs out of your pants, and therefore you violated some biosecurity rule, and we're going to shut down your farm. So this happened when they'd go to a chicken swap meet or a swap meet that had chickens. I don't know if it's specific to the chickens themselves, but basically because you are in an environment with poultry from multiple farms, therefore we've got to destroy your chickens. So there's a risk management element here that has to be aware of avian flu. It has to be aware of the swine illnesses and the different rules and regulations that come up. And very often the cooperative can run interference, but it can also provide independent verification that your farm is clean. It can also help guidance on best practices. So even on a small farm, when you leave your property, you need to sweep down the seeds, make sure you don't have any hitchhikers, empty the cuffs of your pants, and then before you go to the other farm, and then when you get to the other farm, you dust down again. Because we don't want to bring seeds from one farm to another. We don't want to bring an animal from one farm to another without quarantining them. And so that's a risk management aspect that you need to be aware of with your cooperative farm or your cooperative arrangement that's going to facilitate your small farm or homestead. Now, business development. Business development is very important. Do you have the help and support you need when it comes to the the day-to-day operations of your farm. See, a lot of you guys are getting started with homesteading and you're working a full-time job and you just have this dream about homesteading. Some of it's a fantasy, and you need to be working with people who have already done it. And so the development of the farming business is very important, but also the education and sharing and other things. So that's why you're here today. I also highly recommend Scott Vernon's Homestead Mastermind, and there'll be a link in the description below about how you can get involved in his Homestead Mastermind, where I'm a member and I'm learning about goats. I've never raised goats personally other than growing up as a kid. And there's a lot of knowledge that needs to be transferred. And so there's a cooperative relationship there. I'm investing in his program and therefore getting insights and knowledge that saves me time and effort. So just like the risk management, if you had a local risk management professional on your farm, it would cost you six figures every year, but you can get the benefit of it by working with an organization that shares. What about animal counts? So one of the challenges that we find with a lot of small farms or hobby farms, and we don't want them to be hobby farms, okay? Because if you're going to put the time and effort, the blood, sweat, and tears, and you're going to build this homestead, I would prefer a commercial gentleman's farm than a hobby. Really, you're not a petting zoo. You're raising animals for quality food. You're raising to be a good steward to the land. You're raising to take care of your neighbors in a means of commerce, and then possibly even a full-time income without even leaving your property. Now it's not quite work from home because you do need to leave the house to feed the animals and take care of things, but it's an exciting and vibrant lifestyle that you get to go outdoors and be outside. You get to be with the animals. You get to see the cycle of life. And for children, it's an excellent way to build work ethic and skills. But but there are some challenges. Animals get lost due to coyotes, and they get lost due to theft. They get lost because of bad fencing. There's a lot of reasons you may need to have someone, a third party, to count your animals, because when those animals are lost, stolen or otherwise, there could be a police report, there could be an insurance claim, there could be other activities that are additional overhead above and beyond the daily day-to-day work. And so as a cooperative, somebody who independently comes out and counts your animals and provides you a report. So the some of the cooperatives that I've worked with or seen, they actually have centralized accounting systems, and then they'll do a count of your animals. And so a lot of the folks that I know that are running farms, they're insurance agents, they're doctors, they're lawyers, and farming is their tax break. And we can discuss that in the mastermind if that's something you want, because um, there are tax benefits of owning a farm and working a full-time job. But that person who's running the insurance agency, that person who's a medical doctor, they don't have time to go around to all their fields and count the animals, and they have third-party workers, farm hands in many cases, monitoring those animals, and they want to make sure that the number of animals that they have out in the field are actually theirs. And you may have noticed a lot of animals with the ear tag clip with the numbers on it. Those numbers go into a system. It's useful. Animal counts are useful when it comes to breeding schedules. And so this person may, and this is a little bit technical, but very important, is if you have multi paddocks. And so let's say you have a 12-acre farm, and you've got, and this is just the farmland, your house could be someplace else, and you've got three 4-acre paddocks, and you're running animals. You want to know what animals are in which paddock, and somebody might come out once a week, measure the length of the grass, count the number of animals, check the ear tags, and put that in a report somewhere, because maybe you're getting ready to go to the market and you want to have an idea what animals are where and where they are in their feed. Animal counts could include weighing. It could be setting up a sheep pen, and while the vet's there, counting the animals as they go through. But the animal counts can be pretty important, and it's very often neglected on a small homestead-sized farm. But it's something a cooperative can do for you to give you an independent check of animals. Now, what's important about the independent check, and there's another element, independent verification, is that if you have someone on your team say, we got 50 cows out on the back, back 70 acres there, those counts can help you know, is 50 on 70 good? Maybe you want to look at some pictures out there. You want to look at the weight of the animals, because unfortunately, Some folks don't manage animals as well as they could. And so in the cooperative, you can get the resources for somebody to go out and check, but you're not slogging through the field in the rain to count the number of cows. If you've ever had to count sheep or cows or goats, definitely a challenge. Quality assurance, that kind of goes into the counting a little bit too. Are the animals looking healthy? Are the pastures looking healthy? Are the fields looking good? Now, in a cooperative, you can have a farm management company come out and do that check. It doesn't need to cost a lot if it's in the cooperative. If you were to hire somebody individually, it could cost quite a bit, but it just depends on the size of your farm. But we're talking about 20 acres, 50 acres, 100 acres. You don't have full-time people running around doing this stuff. So it's either going to be you or it's going to be somebody who gets sent out by the cooperative. Now, the benefit of somebody getting sent out to the cooperative is it could be your teenage kid who's interested in farming, who works for the cooperative and gets a little bit of pocket money to go out and count the animals and get familiar with things. One of the things about counting animals, you can do that when the vet visits go. So the cooperative gives you the benefit of veterinary discounts because now the vet can come out and tour 5 farms at a time rather than just coming to your farm. So you're more likely to get on the schedule. But then that's a great time for your kid to go out, for a family member to go out and be with the veterinarian to help with the vet work, whether you're trimming hooves, giving shots or vaccinations, checking, doing general health checks for a small herd of animals. Very important. And I just want to give you a little caveat here. A cooperative may not have like full-time employees anywhere. The cooperative members may sit down and agree, part of the membership management, on who's going to do what. So maybe you've got somebody in the cooperative who's really good at cutting hooves and getting those goat shots in, and you've got goats on 3 of the 5 properties in the cooperative. That person may just go out and do the herd management, and the individual owners may have a specialty in a different area. So maybe you're raising chickens and goats, and you've got a specialty in chickens, and somebody else has a specialty in goats. Now you can have both animals on the land without harming the land, but you can have the individuals who are best at the work training each other, teaching each other. Now, to make this work out, the cooperative typically has some kind of scheduling services. And by the way, everything here is typical to a commercial farm. So if you thought you're going to start a homestead and it not operate like a business, then you're probably in the wrong place because many of the tax benefits require evidence, and we'll talk about compliance reporting here shortly, but many of the tax benefits that you can gain working a high income job, maybe being an affluent professional, and then owning a farm or a retreat center or a hunting property, because cooperatives work for hunting lodges and properties. But that scheduling is important because you're going to have inspectors who are going to want to come out. You're going to have tax related elements. If you're running a bed and breakfast or Airbnb on the property, you're going to have scheduling of your clients coming out there. You're going to have scheduling of your vendors. You're going to have certain schedules like reports that are due a certain time of the year. Maybe you got a grant and it has a quarterly reporting period. The scheduling is very important. Compliance, grants have compliance. Certain types of exotic animals require compliance. Maybe you've imported Dorper sheep from a certain place in Europe, and now you've got not only animal counts, but you've got compliance records associated with having those animals there. Maybe you have a heritage breed, or you have breeding stock, and so their compliance around that is, are these animals still certified? Do they still have their papers? And so again, a lot of these things come together, counting the animals and classifying the animals and making sure that they're healthy. All that requires a lot of time. And then finally, the independent verification is you can count your own animals, but it's not as accurate as you counting your own animals sometimes and then someone else counting your animals sometimes and then comparing the results. So like I said, if you're working a full-time job and you've got a farmhand that's taking care of the farm, even if that farmhand is your own kid, I wouldn't trust the numbers they give you. I'd want to verify. If you don't have the time to go out and verify yourself, you can send somebody else out there, or the cooperative can send somebody. Now, the benefit when you have a cooperative and a central set of records, especially on the animal heritage and the animal breeding, is that now you can start doing the matchmaking, for example. So let's say you've got 3 farms And I know I put four fingers up, but you got three farms, and each of the farms has a buck, a male goat, and it's time to breed. You can real quickly get the chart together to figure out what's the optimal place to rotate those bucks so that you're going to maximize the quality of the young animals, the kids that are produced. Same thing with cattle. If you're doing artificial insemination for cattle, that there's scheduling and compliance related issues there. Many times having the record keeping centrally located in the cooperative, and again, it could be a cooperative, it could be an association, it could be a business partnership, it could be a growing co-op, it could be a farming. The description of it doesn't matter. It's pooling of resources. So let's say you have a really good, nice tractor and you want to lower your cost of managing the tractor. You can share that tractor among several farms in the structure of a cooperative where each group pays in on operating time. And then maybe you have a driver that runs the equipment. It could be a member of the cooperative, and everybody knows when it's harvest time, you go out and harvest. There's maybe it's a shared refrigerated truck. Maybe it's a butcher station. We're having a lot of problems in this region with commercial butchers because there just aren't that many of them, or they're very busy. And maybe you have a commercial, you have the equipment to process chicken, and instead of because you can only process your own chicken, but if you get a group of people together to process the chickens, you can do that processing on any of their farms with their own chicken. So sometimes you just cooperative. You just make the flock, the entire flock, an asset of the cooperative, and the equipment the asset of the cooperative. And then you can move around to every farm, and it's all the same organization, same quality controls. And you end up having, in case of three farms, 1/3 of the cost, yet the benefit of the scale. Folks, this is a very exciting thing to look at, especially if you're just starting out your homestead. Very often you can lease your land to these cooperatives. And by leasing your land to these cooperatives, you can justify your agricultural tax exemptions. There's many cost sharing agreements. It's a way to scale in. So for example, I'm starting in goats, and I'm going to contract from an organization the goats that I will be raising under their terms and agreement. And basically, I'm into farming. I'm a farmer day one. As soon as you start doing that, technically, as long as you own agricultural land and you're doing agricultural activities, you're a farmer. But my point being is that the farming cooperative model has certain management things that you want to look for. These include, how are they managing members? Are they helping you with risk? Are they helping you develop an actual business that has income? Are they helping you with the quality assurance that's necessary for compliance, that's necessary for animal health and well-being? Are they helping you with discounts on things that you're regularly buying? Are they helping you, for example, with e-commerce management? A lot of folks are selling at the farmer's market, but they could be more profitable if they had a catalog of their own. But then again, you may not have enough products. In the cooperative, you can have enough products. And finally, independent verification for insurance needs, for managing staff, for addressing the other challenges that are typical to a small farm or homestead. With this concept, you could very easily get to the next level. But like I recommended before, there's a gentleman, Scott Vernon, and I am learning from him how to raise goats. And he has a mastermind around the homesteading thing. He's been in homesteading for more than 11 years, and you can learn a lot. That could be the first cooperative that you're in. And it could be a place for you to ask questions, for you to learn about the different management areas that we're talking about, whether you're going to do them or you're going to hire someone to help you. But again, get involved in something to start getting answers. I know the YouTube, I'm trying to give you the best information I can give you, but if you're not out there in the real world interacting with people, then you're missing out on huge opportunities to start your small farm or homestead immediately, so that you can avoid supply chain disruptions, so that you can have food security, so that you can have physical security and well-being, so possibly you can have tax deductions and the other benefits that we find being good stewards of the land, being good providers for our family, and being good builders of community. I want to thank you for being a part of what I've shared here today. And if you have any questions, I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. Visit us at www.prosperityhomestead.org. Go to the contact page to ask your questions, or go to the newsletter to get a free newsletter that has additional resources about farm management, about building your small farm, homestead, building a life of memories and experiences. And everything I shared here applies for a regional hunting lodge or hunting ground management as well. So just get in there with your questions. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever those buttons are.